Hi everyone. Oh, this is Beyond the Veil Media, and welcome. And today I wanted to talk about our ancestors. Not to say that they claimed to know everything um, and had all the answers, but because I think we've stopped asking some really important questions altogether. When we talk about ancient people, the conversation usually ends with they were primitive or we know better now. But I don't think that's the full picture. One of the first questions I think we haven't asked enough is, were our ancestors actually less intelligent, or were they intelligent in a different way? Because we tend to measure intelligence by technology, the speed, and convenience. But ancient civilizations built structures we still can't fully explain. They tracked time with extreme precision and understood cycles of nature in ways we have mostly forgotten now. So they didn't have modern tools, but they had something else, which was long-term observation. They watched the stars and the moon, and they studied the seasons, and they noticed patterns and weather, agriculture, human behavior, and health. But that raises another question. How much knowledge comes from paying attention over generations? And what happens when a society stops doing that? So, astrology is a good example of something that's often very misunderstood today. Because when we hear of it, we think of horoscopes or entertainment. But historically, astrology wasn't about prediction in the way that we perceive it and think of it. It was about observing cycles. And one way is the farmers, because they watch the seasons to know when to grow different things between their vegetables and fruits and stuff like that, right? They have to pay attention to that, because then certain things won't grow. So they have to grow it at certain times of the year. Another is sailors. Sailors watch the sky. So what's interesting is the cultures all over the world, completely separated by geography, were all looking up at the same sky and recording very similar patterns. But it doesn't automatically mean they were right about everything, but it does raise some questions. Why was sky observation so central to human life for so long until it wasn't? So this brings up something many of us were taught growing up. Things like astrology, earth-based knowledge, or natural healing were tied to witchcraft. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be about witchcraft, after all. And therefore, something forbidden or dangerous, while at the same time being encouraged to casually read horoscopes for entertainment as harmless. But that is contradiction alone. So it's worth questioning. So was the issue the observation itself, or how it was practiced, taught, or understood? Because historically, observing the sky, the body, and the earth wasn't considered magic. It was considered paying attention to creation. The same thing applies to healing. Ancient healing practices focus on balance between the body, environment, and the inner world. Many cultures worked with plants, minerals, water, and breath, and rest, and rhythm. But today we often treat the body as disconnected parts instead of a whole. So another question becomes, what did our ancestors understand about health that we no longer prioritize? That we should be, maybe. Because what stands out to me is that many ancient cultures didn't separate faith from nature. They believed the Creator had already had order placed, and rhythm and provision into creation. And that human beings were meant to work with it and not try to dominate it. Because our ancestors knew how to work with it. where we have lost our way. And that doesn't mean everything ancient was good, true, or safe. But, discernment still matters. But it does raise deeper questions. So if the Creator provided these systems, why did we stop engaging with them in the same way? Somewhere along the way, observation became superstition. Symbolism became myths. And stillness became unproductive. That's why they keep us busy with feeding us tons of information and to constantly be doing things and work. Never stay still. It's like unacceptable and unheard of in today's language. But that's where discernment is key. And ancestral memory became something we just dismissed. So was that because these ways stopped working, or because modern systems no longer had space for them? And these questions do matter, because when people lose connection to their ancestors, their environment, and inner awareness, they also lose context. And without context, it becomes easier to shape and mold into people to believe in and think in, how to live. Not necessarily through control, but through forgetting. And that's exactly what I think has happened here. Although I don't have all the answers and questions, but I think asking them changes how we see ourselves and history and the world we're living in today. And if this resonated with you, please comment below on any questions or anything you would like to add to this video. And like and subscribe and share with others that you think could benefit from this. And thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, have a great day.